Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me on another video. In today's video, I'm going to be comparing the OnePlus 5T to the Galaxy Note 8, and we're going to see which one is the best phone. And this is going to be an in-depth review, so grab your popcorn and get ready for it because this is going to be a long one. So I'm going to be comparing everything from specs to benchmarks to physical appearance, camera test, everything. Now the reasoning behind me going with the OnePlus 5T and the Note 8 is the 5T has been known as the flagship killer, and the Note 8 is one of the best flagships out there right now. So I want to see how these phones do head to head with each other, and I hope it's an interesting test. So let's get right into the test and see how they perform. Let's look at the phones themselves and let's compare what they look like physically. So looking at both the phones, they're both quite massive. However, the Note 8 definitely wins here with that huge footprint. It just looks massive. And the thing is, in width, they're almost similar when you look at it. So putting it on each other, so they're almost equal when it comes to the width. Let me just lift up both phones and show you guys from the bottom. So as you can see, width is similar, but height is where the Galaxy Note 8 really excels. And actually speaking, this is probably the tallest phone I've seen in a long time. It even dwarfs the iPhone 8 Plus, which is a very wide and very tall phone. It's very cool to see that. However, one thing that physically about the the Note 8 that I'm not liking so far is about how squared off these edges are. Because of how they're squared off, it does hurt when you hold it in your palm like this for long periods of time. What happens is it starts to poke into your palm, and after a long time, any power user will know that it does start to get intrusive. Whereas the OnePlus 5 has actually fixed this, the 5 and 5T. The 3T had the same issue as the Note 8, where the sides were very squared off, so it kind of poked in. But the 5T, very rounded, very awesome corners here, and it's even curved on the back. So overall, it feels like a very comfortable device. Just holding it in your hands, everything, it feels so comfortable that it's definitely a phone that you could use for a long duration of time. Looking at the cameras on these phones, both of these phones have a dual camera setup. The Note 8 is a lot more integrated and it is flat and flush, whereas the 5T has this bulge here, very similar to what the iPhone 7 Plus and 8 Plus have. And the flash and microphone are outside of the camera unit to the left of it. Whereas the Note 8 has one full built-in unit here that includes the fingerprint scanner as well, whereas the OnePlus 3T has the fingerprint scanner right above the logo here. And honestly, both work out fine for me. Luckily enough, the Note 8 fingerprint scanner is not too much of a hassle for me. However, I know people who do find this hard to reach. OnePlus 5T is in a much more natural location when it comes to the fingerprint scanner because of the way that it's just positioned to be a lot more easier to reach, especially for someone with shorter hands. So let me just demonstrate for you guys. When you have your phone in your palm like this, so my hand is a little bit larger, so probably not going to be applicable to everybody. What happens is that is a very natural place for your index finger to reach and tap. So while I did that, the phone already unlocked. So very natural position in my opinion, if you're going to place it on the back, to have it somewhere near the middle where the index finger can easily reach it. And I don't really have to stretch my index finger at all. I just have to move it towards the center from the side where I would usually hold the phone. Note 8, let me just show you how it works on the Note 8 for me. What happens is that I do have to do a little bit more of a stretch with the Note 8, so it comes off to the fact that it's over here. So what happens is if I'm holding the phone in the deep corners like this, I can't reach it. I have to just shift my grip from the extreme corner here up a little bit, and then I'm very easily able to reach it and unlock the phone. However, if you have smaller hands than me, which is probably very likely, it will be a lot more uncomfortable for you to get on and use that fingerprint scanner. So moving in and looking at the design of both of these phones, the Note 8 has a very curved, tapered design on both the sides. So both the front and the back, they go like this and then dip off at the end on both sides. So it feels a lot thinner than it actually is because of the way it's designed. Moving to the OnePlus 5T, again, the OnePlus 5T feels a lot more traditional to me in design and in terms of just overall looks. It's a metal device, very nice feeling metal. It is slippery though. It doesn't grip as well as a plastic phone or something of that sort. Even the Note 8 is a lot slippery, but I feel like personally the glass has a little bit more of grip compared to this metal. This metal is so smooth that it just slides off. So in conclusion with the design, it's a tough call for me because honestly, I don't know which one I like better. The 5T looks more, it's a lot more traditional and honestly is just lighter and a lot more comfortable to use when compared to the Note 8. However, the Note 8 has that futuristic design with curved edges and a curved screen, and I don't know, this is a very tough call for me, and if you made me choose, I would probably take the Note 8. In a perfect world, the S8 is what I would take, but the Note 8, just because of that front screen, the way it looks, that curved edge, and curved edges on the back as well. The design overall is futuristic, despite me hating these corners and the placement of that fingerprint scanner being awkward. I think that the glass design, just the overall build, is a lot more unique and good looking on the Note 8 than it is on the 5T. That's the only real problem. But both phones, in terms of designs, top of this year. Definitely no big issues with either of them. So let's move on. So for the last part of the hardware test, what I'm going to be doing is comparing the display of these two phones. So here's a very high quality video playing on both of these phones. So this video was shot in 4K by a very awesome YouTuber called Gears and Gasoline. And what they did was, this is a 4K video. However, on the OnePlus 5T, it's only playing back in 1080p because that's what YouTube is limiting it to. Note 8 has it at 1440p. Both the phones, since they're 18:9, have been cropped to fit them. If you don't crop them, this is what they look like. However, I think it just looks a lot better when it's cropped. So you guys tell me what you think about the color, dynamic range, brightness. Both of them are at maximum brightness. And let me just... So both of them are AMOLED screens. The Note 8 has 1440 into 2960 pixels with a 521 ppi density, 18:5:9 ratio. The OnePlus 5T has the 6-inch 1080 into 2160 pixels, 18:9 ratio with a 401 ppi density. So when it comes to the pixel density, the Note 8 just blows the 5T out of the water. Also, the brightness from what I'm seeing is just ridiculous. It just looks so much more real. Galaxy Note 8 has very nice punchy colors and they look very good in video. Some people may not prefer the saturated, oversaturated punchy colors, but in my opinion they look beautiful. They just look so good. And I've been very impressed with the Note 8's display. I think that the S8 had one of the best displays when I bought it. The Note 8 definitely has the best display when I bought it. And the thing is, when you're paying this much for a smartphone, I feel like you deserve this kind of display. The 5T, also, I'm thoroughly impressed because of how good the quality is. But when you put them side by side, there's no competition. And if you were to show me these two displays and tell me the price difference, I would take the Note 8. I know a lot of people will say that the 5T gives you a lot for the money, and it does, I'm not going to lie to you, but when you show me this display, just look at the colors, look at the brightness, the vibrance, everything just looks so much better on the Note 8. I'm sorry if you guys can't really interpret that through this video, but compare any Note 8 to a 5T on the same video on YouTube, and you guys will know that the 5T is just not as good when compared to the Note 8, and nothing really stands up to the Note 8 right now. None of the phones that are out right now really stand up to it. You guys let me know what you think. I'm not sure if this video is going to do justice to both the screens, but if you guys have seen the Note 8 and the 5T together, which one of their displays did you like better? And which one would you choose if you were forced, if you're buying a phone, do you want a display like the Note 8, or is the 5T something you guys can live with? Let me know. Alright guys, so let's move into the software. So both of these phones are running Android Nougat right now. They haven't gotten the Oreo update yet. Now, the cool thing about both these phones are that they have a very different take at Android. The Note 8 has the Samsung Experience software overlaid. The OnePlus 5T has Oxygen OS. Now, both of them are good in my opinion. The Note 8, it's very clear that the OnePlus 5T is based very much off of stock Android. Oxygen OS is a light skin on it. And it's actually a little bit, I haven't really used a stock Android device in a long time, so I don't know exactly how it stacks up. But I feel like this is probably the closest you're going to get to a good Android experience without too much bloatware, just a complete skin refresh. Now, the Note 8, the Samsung Experience software has been heavily hated, debated, and honestly not liked by a lot of people, especially the reviewers. Now, my opinion on Samsung experience is that it used to be horrible, especially when it was called TouchWiz. Those days, if you OG Samsung guys will remember what TouchWiz was. TouchWiz was horrible, and I hated it. However, Samsung experience now is, in my opinion, one of the better Android experiences. Let me just show a few simple things to you guys. So the app switcher is a very simple swipe up, and you'll get the app switcher, very similar to most Android devices now. Same with the OnePlus 5T. The OnePlus 5T has this one page where you slide up and down. Not a big fan of that. I'm more of a fan of the Pages style layout because it's a little bit more organized in my opinion. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but for me, I'm just a bigger fan of the page layout than I am of this sliding layout. So software-wise, both of them very good. If you were gonna ask me to pick one, I'd go with the Note 8 because of one thing being the key determinant for me being this Pages style layout. But the thing is, software is so amazing on Android because you can just put another launcher on the 5T and just customize it like crazy and make it however you want it to. And same goes for the Note 8. You know, you can customize it however you want to. The only thing that however, I'm going to be deciding just based on what comes on the phone. So based on that, I think the Samsung experience is a little bit of a better software just in terms of being able to completely capture features. Also, I forgot to quickly mention that there is this edge panel that you guys can use for quick information like weather or stocks or quick tools such as the compass. So you can get a lot more features such as that. And then obviously there's the Note 8 has those S Pen features that you guys will love. So you can have the screen write memo. So I can just pull out the S Pen when it's turned off, and I'll get the screen write memo where I can say, write whatever I want to and save it to my notes. Very cool feature, especially for power users. So you can just write a note, save it, and it's done. A lot of cool software features like that on the Note 8, especially involving the S Pen. You can do a screen capture immediately and just write on it. So I can, if I take screen write, it'll immediately take a screenshot, and I can write whatever I want. So I can choose pen. Let's just take red because it's going to be the most visible, and I can just write whatever I need to. Or if I wanted, I could circle something, draw an arrow towards it, immediately share it with someone. So I can immediately share this with whoever I want to on whatever I want to. So very cool, very interesting features that the S Pen provides. However, this isn't for everybody. Not everybody's going to use these as much. And you can actually do it. You can do the screen write things with different types of software anyways. It's not necessary that you need to have that S Pen to do it. However, it's very cool that it's included, and it is definitely a useful feature to me. So again, on the whole, Note 8 has the better software experience in my opinion. However, both are highly customizable, and it will come down to what you're looking for in the end. Alright everybody, so let's do a quick boot test to see which one of these phones boots up faster. So let me just turn off both devices. So power off, there we go. And then on the OnePlus 5T, power off. Cool thing to note, both of these phones do provide quick restart options in the power down menu. So that's very useful if you just want to restart your phone to, if you're having a bug or some issue, you can quickly do that. So both the phones are now off. So I'm going to hit the power button at the same exact time in a few seconds, and I'll count it down from 3, and we'll see which one boots up first. So in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay. So I got the haptic feedback on the 5T first, but it was about half a second later that the Note 8 also gave it to me. So Note 8 has moved along onto the next screen. 5T is still loading up on this animation. Let's see which one. So Note 8 came up. So the OnePlus 5T. So it was about 1 second behind the Note 8. Probably a little bit more than 1 second. Not bad considering that both the phones are very equally matched. There's something about the Note 8. It's one of the quickest loading Android devices I've seen for a while. Very interesting, and it keeps up with the iPhone as well, which is surprising because not all the phones can keep up with the iPhone when it comes to boot up times. So let's move on. Alright everybody, so for this part of the test, let's move on to benchmarking. So in this comparison, what I'm going to be doing is comparing Antutu benchmark, Geekbench, and the speed test to compare the networking speeds. Now, what I'll be doing is I'll keep both the phones on the same network just to show you guys very quickly. Both of them are on Audio-Technica 5.0 here, and I will close down all the apps. All apps are closed, as you guys can see, and what I'll be doing is first off running speed test to show you guys the network speed. Close that app, move on Geekbench. Close that, move on Antutu benchmark. And on Antutu benchmark, I'll be using my laser thermometer to find out which phone gets hotter while the benchmark is running and when it's over, just to give you guys an idea of when the phone is under heavy load, such as gaming, what to expect in terms of heat and how hot the device will get. So let's get right into speed test. So speed test. I will be running them independently, so I'll have one device run first, then the other second. I'll run two tests just to make sure that the results are consistent. And once I get consistent results, I will tell you guys exactly what I got. So let me begin now. Alright guys, so I just finished the speed test, and one thing that's very clear to me is that the Note 8 has very consistent results. So I ran this test 2 times before I filmed this video, and then 2 times while I was filming the video. And one clear thing here is that the Note 8 has very varied results. The last 2 results were a little bit more consistent, but the first 2, very weird. They didn't really match up. And the Note 8 has been consistent throughout. So very interesting to see that. So let me just give you the during the test, the Note 8 had a 76 down and 69 up during the last test. OnePlus 5T had 83 down and 80 up. So both are very similar to what you see on other flagships. But one thing I am noticing is that the 5T, as I said, very inconsistent results. I got 55, 42, 84, 83. So very varied. Whereas the Note 8, every one of them has been in the 70 Mbps range. So 76, 71, 75, 76. And that's just the test today. There was one test I did before that was at 82 Mbps. Obviously, it kind of differs when you do it on different timings. And 69, 66, 56, 49 for upload. So again, not the most consistent, but still a lot more consistent than what the OnePlus 5T is with the download speeds. If you want a consistently performing phone when it comes to networking, Note 8 has done a little bit of a better job. Now, this is a test with a very short data result, so don't build an assumption that the 5T is just going to be like this all the time. Maybe it won't be, but from the data I saw, that's what it was. So let's move on and let's get into Geekbench. So let me just close down speed test here for you guys. So just to do that. Now let's get into Geekbench and see what the scores for both these phones are. As I said again, both the phones are running the newest versions they're on. So we have the Exynos 8895 on the Note 8, Snapdragon 835 on the OnePlus 5T. Let's run the CPU benchmark. Alright everybody, so I just completed the Geekbench scores, and the scores are actually very close to each other. Both the scores are within 100 of the others. So the Note 8 has 2026 for the single core score, 6,816 on the multi-core. 5T is 1,976 on single core and 6,754 on multi-core. I'm very interested to actually see someone do the same test with a Snapdragon Note 8 to see if the results are a little bit closer, or if the Note 8 with Exynos is just a little bit more better optimized. What it is, I don't know. So it will be very cool to see. But I think that this minute of a difference really won't speak to anything about the phone's performance. Both of them are probably very close to each other when it really comes to real-world performance. I haven't used them enough to tell you guys how it exactly feels. So let's move on to the Antutu benchmark and heat test. By the way, I was doing a little bit of heat readings when it came to both the phones, and both the phones were about a degree within each other, 1 degree Fahrenheit within each other when it came to the heat. Note 8 got up to 86 degrees. 5T was at 87 degrees at the highest point, so not too bad. All right, everybody, so let's move into Antutu benchmark. Let me just show you that I've already closed Geekbench, so Geekbench is closed down. Let's move right into Antutu. So let's hit test, 1, 2, 3. All right, and I'm going to be doing I'm going to be monitoring the temperature of both of these phones as they go on, and at the end, I'll tell you guys what the temperature results were. So let's All right, everybody. So both the tests just completed on the Note 8 and the 5T, and I'm actually impressed with the 5T for getting the higher score here. So the 5T has 178,892. Note 8 has 175,537. Not that big of a difference, but definitely a difference there. And considering that this phone is actually almost 30% cheaper than the Note 8, very cool to see that it is outperforming it, at least in the graphic standpoint. Now, one thing I would say that while I was testing the temperatures, this phone got a little bit hotter. At the hottest point, it was 4 degrees hotter than the Note 8. That was Fahrenheit, so this got up to 100 and something, 100 point something, whereas the Note 8 didn't go above 96 degrees. A weird thing here, though, was that the hottest point on the Note 8, the OnePlus 5T, is near the earpiece here, whereas the Note 8 is right here, so I'm guessing that the CPU was over here for the Note 8, but weird to see that the OnePlus 5T actually got hot up here instead of the about this area where most phones do get hot because that's where the CPU usually is. Again, very impressed with the OnePlus 5T for getting the higher score in Antutu, so let's move on. All right, everybody, so let's move on to the sound comparison test. So what we're going to be doing is two things here. One, we want to see how loud the phones get, and two, I want to see which one sounds better. Previously in these tests, I would just look for which one sounds the loudest with this decibelmeter. However, I feel like that's not a fair test. So what I'm going to be doing now is going to be comparing both the quality and the total sound output. So let's just start up and see which one sounds better. I'm going to be disconnecting this mic so that you guys can hear it from the other mic. So let's get right into it. Note 8 first, then the OnePlus 5T. I'll have it on the screen which one's audio is playing. Compare it to each other and let me know which one you guys think is better. Do remember, though, that it's really hard to justify audio and stuff like this. So I'll be giving you my summary at the end of this segment. So let's get right into it. So that was the sound comparison test, guys, and what I heard was that both of them sound okay. They're not bad, but the Note 8 is definitely a little bit less. There's not as much as an effect as I'd like to be. It's just like a normal speaker. There's not too much bass. There's not too much depth, and the 5T is a little bit better at that. There's a little bit more depth. It does feel like you're a little bit more involved in the music. I don't know if that's something that you guys can understand, but that was that. So the decibel, when it came to the decibels, the Note 8 105.0, 5T 105.6. When it comes up to it, both of these sound very, very similar to each other in terms of loudness, but because there's more depth in the OnePlus 5T, it honestly feels like you're listening to a louder speaker. But when it comes to the numbers, they're very similar. So it's only because of the depth the OnePlus 5T adds. I definitely think that the 5T is the better speaker here. And I think that the Note 8 has to be one of the most disappointing speakers on any flagship right now. The Pixel 2 has dual speakers. The iPhone 10 and 8 Plus both have dual speakers. So very disappointing to see that the Note 8 is still stuck with that single firing speaker. I can forgive the 5T for it because it's a very budget device. But it's not a budget device, but it is it's obviously a lot cheaper than these devices, so I can accept that they'd have to cut out a feature or two like that. The Note 8, no reason to do it. It's just they didn't want to do it is the only reason for it. So let's move on. Moving into the first picture, so I'm moving into the most important part of this comparison, and that is the portrait mode comparison. So the Note 8 and OnePlus 5T have different takes at it. The Note 8 uses the telephoto lens to make the portrait photo, whereas the 5T uses a normal lens instead of a telephoto lens, and the results kind of vary. Now, the OnePlus 5T in this shot looks a lot nicer to me, but the one issue I had was I had to take a lot of shots to make one shot come out well. The software doesn't do that good of a job in blurring out edges, especially the hair and ears that you see. They were very tough. The Note 8 was instant, it was immediate, and it was a lot easier than the OnePlus 5T. So while this photo is going to the OnePlus 5T, overall the Note 8 has a much better experience when it comes to taking portrait photography. So continuing on, so taking a quick look, here's the OnePlus 5T with and without the portrait blur on the same photo, and the differences, you guys tell me what you think about. Let's move on to see the Note 8. So here's the comparison between the Note 8. Notice that the normal photo is taken with the primary lens, and the second, the portrait photo is taken with the telephoto lens, so it is a lot more zoomed in. You do not have the option of using the full frame. You have to use the telephoto lens. So let's move on to the next shot. Speaking of the 1x and 2x zooms, let's look at both the 1x and 2x zooms on the OnePlus 5T. So the same photo, I took them separately with the 1x and the 2x, so that means that it's the first and the secondary camera. OnePlus 5T, primary camera looks decent, not that good, but it's decent. The 2x zoom was just not that good. I tried to take it a few times. Photo is always blurry, nothing is in proper focus, and the details are washed out. So that's there. So let's move on and look at the Note 8. When it comes to the Note 8, the photography on the second lens is quite different. Just the details alone are very good. The 1x lens is excellent, and a lot of detail is properly captured, but the 2x moving into it is also very accurate. The details are there, and just noticed even the furthest leaves, you can see the detail in them. And that's a very interesting comparison to the 5T. So let's move on to the next photo. So looking at this photo, you can see that the colors on both phones are actually fairly similar. Note 8 is a little bit warmer in color temperature, but not far off from the OnePlus 5T. One thing that I did notice, however, is clarity. Just look into the further the right leaf, the biggest one, and you guys can see that the green between the white is so much more clearer in comparison to the 5T. So I think that the Note 8 wins this photo for sure. So looking at this photo, it further proves my point that the colors are very equal on both the Note 8 and 5T. The main area of difference is clarity. There is a lot more of detail on the Note 8 in comparison to the 5T. So much so that you can clearly see that there is a what looks like an insect on the Note 8 on the left of the flower on the leaf, whereas you can barely see that on the 5T photo. Very interesting to me that the detail levels are so different on a phone. So let's move on. Here is a comparison of the front cameras of both of these phones. So generally when I took most of the shots, the Note 8 was almost equivalent to the OnePlus 5T, but here's one scenario where the 5T looks a lot better. The colors are darker. It's a little bit, it's exposed correctly. The Note 8 in this shot is overexposed, so the colors are kind of white and they're washed out. So the 5T, in my opinion, has just as good as a front camera as the Note 8. The angle is good, everything is good. So in this case, I think I will give them a tie because the Note 8 produces more consistent results, whereas the 5T, you need to work at it. Moving into the indoor setting, so this is a low light photo from the Note 8 and 5T, and one thing that comes right into focus here is that the OnePlus 5T is not a good camera, especially in low light. Just look at the difference between the details in the camera. It's just ridiculous. The level of noise is unreal, and it just misses out on so much detail. And it's not like this one shot was blurry by accident and nothing was in focus. I took the same photo about 4 times to try and see if I can get it into better focus, but that said, the limitations of this camera in low light are very, very apparent. So let's move on. For the final photo, we have the front camera of both the Note 8 and OnePlus 5T in low light, and at first glance, honestly, neither look too good. They both look very noisy, and the clarity is just not there. However, one thing I do notice is that the Note 8, even though it doesn't have too much detail is still better than the 5T. And just the fact that it's better than the Note 8 5T isn't good. I expect a little bit more. But in this case, the Note 8 is better, but the 5T isn't too far behind. Both of them don't perform too well in the low light, especially with the front camera. Alright guys, so this is the camera video test of the Galaxy Note 8 and the OnePlus 5T. I have the 5T on the right, Note 8 on the left. So tell me what you guys think about the video. What do you think about the audio? What do you think about the dynamic range of the colors and everything, stabilization? And these are both on the 1x zoom, so that means that they have optical image stabilization on both of them. So let me know what you guys think. So the previous videos were both on the highest settings for both phones. Now both of the phones are rocking 1080p 60 FPS. Note 8 on the left, OnePlus 5T on the right. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to walk around, move around a little bit, show you guys what's the stabilization like. I won't be able to tell until it's onto the computer and I can review them again, but it's looking like the Note 8 is doing a little bit of a better job, so we'll see. And let me know what the audio looks like as well. So here's an indoor test of the OnePlus 5T and the Galaxy Note 8. 5T on the right, Note 8 on the left. Let me know what you guys think of the video quality. Both are on their highest settings, as usual. Let me know what you guys are thinking about them. I can't really tell from the preview, but I'm pretty sure that the Note 8 is looking a little bit brighter. So we'll see in post. Let me know what you guys think. So this is the front camera test of both the Galaxy Note 8 on the left and the OnePlus 5T on the right. And let me know what you guys think. They're both on their highest maximum settings. I'm just going to move around to show you guys. And neither of them are 60 FPS, so they're just normal 30 FPS settings. So what do you guys think? Let me know. Here is the indoor front-facing camera video test. So both are on highest settings. Note 8 is on the left, 5T on the right. And let me know what you guys think. The Note 8 looks a lot better, well, just looking at the screen. However, I won't know until it's in post. So you guys let me know what you think about it. Both are on their highest settings. So, yeah. So rounding up that camera comparison, one thing that I'm seeing is that the OnePlus 5T is decent, but you need to put a lot of effort into those photos to make them look good. It's not just a click and go and you'll get the best photos you can. You need to put a little effort in, and low light performance is just absolutely horrible. I can't really understand why OnePlus would go with a setup like this. And while I know that the phone is not as expensive as these flagships out there, I think that a lot of other mid-range phones do a lot better in the camera department compared to the OnePlus. Now, one thing that was common between the two was that the colors looked very similar. The saturation level is equal. They're equally punchy. The only thing that is there is that the OnePlus lacks detail. Note 8 does very good with detail. You can see a lot more in there. And the front camera is equally weighted. Just as long as you're in the proper light, both of them come out with some decent shots. Low light, absolutely horrible. The Note 8 really takes the cake there with the low light. So if you're looking to do photography indoors or low light conditions, stay away from the 5T because it's not a good camera. So let's move on to the conclusion. So that was just an interesting bunch of tests that we just ran. And one thing that I've come to realize at this point is that OnePlus is no joke. I've had the OnePlus products before. The OnePlus 3T was my last OnePlus phone, and I was not impressed with it, to be very honest with you guys. I never did a review on it, but the OnePlus 3T didn't feel like it was a flagship killer. It was a very good mid-range phone, a very, very good one. But a flagship killer, I would have definitely had the S7 Edge or the iPhone 8 Plus, 7 Plus, whatever was out at that time. I think it was the 7 Plus. I would have gone with that over the OnePlus 3T. And it's not the same case this time around because the OnePlus 5T is definitely no longer just a mid-range phone. It competes with the best out there, and today's results just prove that. The one place where you clearly see they're cutting back is, there's not much that comes in the box. You don't get any accessories to speak of. The display, it's good, but not at the level of the iPhone 10 and Note 8. And the cameras are actually not good at all. There's mid-range phones that have better camera performance than this, and It's kind of interesting to me see why the OnePlus brand pushes the shot on OnePlus so much when their cameras, in all honesty, aren't that good. They're okay, but nowhere close to any flagship out there. And it's very interesting that there's still a push for that. But wrapping things up, I think that my conclusion for this video has to be that OnePlus is no joke. But if it was my money and my choice, I would definitely go for the Note 8 just because it has the best display I've seen on any phone. It has punchy colors, it looks good, it gets really bright, and the quality is just there. Then there's the S Pen functionality that is very good. It's not the most useful thing, but once you get used to it, once you start using it, it's something that you feel very comfortable with and that you wouldn't want to give up as you go forward. And it also really is a phone that is meant for, heavy users. There's so much stuff that comes in the box. It's a very good phone in my opinion. The 5T, not bad at all. It really did impress me. The speakers were really good. The display held up fairly good. It's a lot better than the 3T ever was. And the fingerprint scanner, face recognition, all excellent. They work very well. Design is very functional. And I don't mind that. I like the functional design. However, when it comes to form factor, no denying that the Note 8 looks a lot better. So that's a wrap for this video, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say about the 5T and Note 8. And please don't go on a rant about how OnePlus 5T is so good for the money. I understand that, but I want to know more about that. Why would you justify the 5T over the Note 8. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I will be coming out with a lot more comparisons with the Note 8 and the OnePlus 5T, putting them against the other phones this year. So be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell icon to stay up to date with notifications of when I upload. Be sure to follow me on social media as well. I update all the behind the scenes stuff of filming, testing, and just random day-to-day stuff you definitely don't want to miss out. All the links are down in the description below. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.